In 1993, they taught us that blood is thicker than water. 30 years later, the brutal truth about the blood in, blood out cast is finally being revealed. From Hollywood glory to devastating personal tragedies, their real-life journeys are darker and more painful than anything shown on screen. The Vato Loco spirit lives on, but the men behind it have been broken, forgotten, and transformed beyond recognition. Benjamin Bratt as Paco Aguilar. Born on December 16, 1963 in San Francisco, California, the actor first brought Paco to life in the 1993 epic crime drama Blood in, Blood Out, also known as Bound by Honor. At the age of 29, Bratt's portrayal of the fierce Vatos Locos gang member who transforms into a hardened, aggressive LAPD narcotics officer became a cultural touchstone. Offering a gritty, complex depiction of brotherhood survival and Mexican-American identity, his performance resonated deeply with audiences. Although the film initially struggled at the box office and faced studio apprehension following the 1992 Los Angeles riots, it eventually found monumental success as a revered cult classic that continues to significantly impact Chicano cinema. Despite the character's violent, explosive, and volatile street-hardened nature, Benjamin Bratt in real life is widely described as an elegant, articulate, and gentle family man deeply rooted in his indigenous Quechua heritage and a passionate activist for Native American rights. This stark contrast highlighted his remarkable acting range, yet his career was frequently marked by the struggle of being typecast. Because of his early success in gritty roles, he often had to fight against being pigeonholed as a gangbanger, a drug trafficker, or a stereotypical Latino cop, which at times made finding diverse, non-stereotypical work a challenge. Beyond the battle with Hollywood typecasting, his professional journey faced the sting of unexpected show cancellations. His passionate starring role as a recovering addict in the A&E drama The Cleaner was abruptly canceled in 2009 after 2 seasons without a satisfying conclusion, and subsequent series like E-Ring and Star also met premature ends, forcing him to constantly navigate the unpredictable landscape of network television. Benjamin Bratt continued to work steadily in film and television for decades, balancing his artistic intentions with the practical realities of Hollywood. He famously starred as Detective Ray Curtis on Law and Order, and later found massive success in voice acting, most notably bringing to life the charismatic Ernesto de la Cruz in Pixar's 2017 Oscar-winning animated hit, Coco. In his personal life, he married actress Talisa Soto in 2002, whom he first met during the casting process for Blood in, Blood Out, and together they share 2 children. At 62, Bratt remains a highly respected and active figure in the entertainment industry, continuing to produce independent films while fiercely advocating for authentic, multifaceted representations of Latinos on screen. Danny Trejo as Geronimo. Born on May 16, 1944 in Los Angeles, California, the native of the Echo Park neighborhood drew upon his own harrowing real-life experiences in the prison system before stepping into the world of film. At the age of 48, Trejo's portrayal of Geronimo, a loyal member of the La Onda prison gang in the 1993 epic crime drama Blood in, Blood Out, added an undeniable and gripping authenticity to the project. Filmed on location inside San Quentin, a facility where Trejo himself had once been incarcerated, his performance resonated deeply, helping the film become a massive cultural touchstone and a beloved, enduring cult classic within the Mexican-American community. Despite the character's ruthless and violently hardened nature, Danny Trejo is renowned in real life for being profoundly gentle, compassionate, and the polar opposite of the terrifying criminals he portrays on screen. This contrast was a defining part of his professional journey. For much of his early career, his imposing physical appearance, gravelly voice, and extensive tattoos led to severe typecasting in Hollywood. He faced the hardship of constantly being boxed into stereotypical thug cartel and enforcer roles, famously spending years being billed simply as Inmate Number 1 or Tough Guy. Breaking out of this restrictive mold to be recognized as a leading man took decades of relentless work, though he frequently embraced his terrifying on-screen presence to teach at-risk youth that a life of crime ultimately leads only to prison or death. Danny Trejo successfully evolved far beyond his early typecasting, building an incredibly prolific career with hundreds of acting credits, notably securing a massive cult following with his leading man status in the Machete franchise. Outside of acting, he expanded his brand into a celebrated culinary empire by launching ventures like Trejo's Tacos and Trejo's Coffee and Donuts, published an acclaimed autobiography, and has continued his lifelong, deeply personal work as a drug and alcohol addiction counselor. At 81, Trejo remains a beloved and highly active figure in both Hollywood and the Los Angeles community, using his remarkable journey of redemption to continually give back and uplift those in need. Billy Bob Thornton as Lightning. Born on August 4th, 1955 in Hot Springs, Arkansas, the actor first brought lightning to life in the 1993 crime epic Blood in, Blood Out. At the age of 37, Thornton's portrayal of the menacing white supremacist prison inmate became a chilling and memorable highlight of the cult classic. Though it was a supporting role, his gritty and intense performance helped solidify the film's gritty authenticity, showcasing his remarkable ability to dive deeply into dark, deeply flawed characters and leaving a lasting impression on audiences. Despite convincingly playing a violent and hateful Aryan gang member, Billy Bob Thornton is a thoughtful, highly creative, and notoriously eccentric artist whose real-life personality contrasts sharply with the brutal thugs he portrayed early in his career. Known for his unique quirks, such as an intense phobia of antique furniture, he is far from the hardened criminals he depicted. His early professional journey was marked by severe physical and financial hardship. He lived in extreme poverty in Los Angeles at one point, developing myocarditis from a poor diet consisting primarily of potatoes. Before achieving major fame, Thornton struggled significantly with being typecast as menacing hillbillies, minor villains, or racist inmates, making it incredibly difficult for him to find substantial multi-dimensional work in Hollywood. It wasn't until he wrote, directed, and starred in his 1996 breakout hit Sling Blade that he finally shattered those limitations. Following that creative triumph, Thornton transitioned into an Academy Award-winning filmmaker and a highly respected leading man in both film and television. He became a massive fixture in pop culture, partly due to his highly publicized and tempestuous marriage to Angelina Jolie in the early 2000s, though he eventually settled into a much quieter personal life, marrying his sixth wife, Connie Angland, in 2014. At 70, Thornton is widely celebrated as a Hollywood veteran and a musical artist with his band, the Boxmasters. He continues to take on critically acclaimed complex roles, having won praise for his television work in hit series like Fargo, Goliath, and Landman, completely transcending the minor thug roles he fought so hard to escape in his early days. Delroy Lindo as Bonafide. Born on November 18, 1952 in Lewisham, London, England, the British-American actor first brought Bonafide to life in the 1993 epic crime drama Blood in, Blood Out, also released as Bound by Honor. At the age of 38, Lindo's portrayal of the pragmatic and authoritative leader of the Black Guerrilla Army BGA inside San Quentin State Prison became a standout performance. The film later exploded into a massive cultural touchstone and cult classic, particularly within the Chicano and wider Latino communities, offering a raw depiction of gang life and prison politics, where Bonafide represented a commanding, calculating presence that remains unforgettable. Despite the character's ruthless, hardened, and menacing criminal persona, Delroy Lindo is deeply introspective, highly educated, and described by those who know him as the polar opposite of a prison gang leader. A sophisticated Shakespearean-trained actor, this contrast was a testament to his immense talent. His professional journey, however, was marked by significant struggles. Early in his career, he faced the frustration of being typecast in minor or stereotypical roles, which made it so difficult for him to find substantial work that he put his film career on hold for a full decade in the 1980s to focus exclusively on theater. Even after returning to the screen, he had to constantly fight against being boxed into playing street criminals or imposing villains, and he dealt with the professional sting of having critically praised television shows. He starred in such as The Chicago Code and Believe face premature cancellations. Delroy Lindo eventually shattered these industry limitations, experiencing a massive career resurgence to become one of the most respected actors of his generation. He expanded his repertoire with powerful, complex roles, earning universal acclaim and major awards for his performance in Spike Lee's 2020 film, Da 5 Bloods, while also starring in recent projects like The Harder They Fall, Unprisoned, and the Marvel Cinematic Universe's Blade.
The Simpsons was
Off-screen, he settled in the San Francisco Bay Area with his wife Nashor May, raising their son and further expanding his horizons by earning a master's degree from New York University in 2014. At 73, he is a revered and highly active figure in Hollywood, continuing to deliver commanding screen performances while remaining a deeply private and dignified individual away from the spotlight. Jesse Borrego as Cruz Candelaria. Born on August 1, 1962 in San Antonio, Texas, the classically trained actor was already known for his television work before cementing his cinematic legacy in the 1993 epic Blood in, Blood Out. At the age of 30, Borrego's portrayal of Cruz Candelaria, a gifted Chicano artist whose life is derailed by devastating gang violence and deep struggles with drug addiction, became a profound cultural touchstone. His heartbreaking performance resonated massively, helping the film achieve immense cult status within the Latino community and beyond, offering a raw, unforgettable depiction of brotherhood, art, and tragedy that is still celebrated decades later. Despite the character's deeply tragic, drug-addicted, and gang-affiliated trajectory, Jesse Borrego was the polar opposite of Cruz Candelaria. He is a highly disciplined CalArts-trained performer and devoted family man with a profound passion for indigenous and Chicano cultural preservation. This contrast was a significant part of his professional journey, as he continuously had to navigate an industry eager to put him in a box. His career was marked by the persistent struggle of being typecast, often facing Hollywood's restrictive tendency to limit Latino actors to playing gang members, cartel associates, or marginal criminals. This stereotyping made it difficult for him to secure the complex leading parts that matched his classical training, requiring him to continuously fight for authentic representation in a Hollywood system that was notoriously slow to change. Jesse Borrego continued to work steadily in television, film, and theater, carving out notable roles in hit shows like 24
all of that,
and Dexter,
again,
as well as films like Con Air.
Already knew.
Frustrated by industry limitations, he founded his own production company, Cine Aslan, to direct independent projects and tell authentic ground-level stories. Remaining heavily involved in the San Antonio arts community, he has spent decades mentoring young Latino filmmakers, dancers, and actors. At 63, he is a respected elder statesman of Chicano cinema, continuing to advocate for Latino representation and the arts while living a grounded private life with his wife, Valeria Hernandez, and their daughter. Damian Chapa as Miklo Velka. Born on October 29, 1963 in Dayton, Ohio, Damian Chapa burst into the cultural zeitgeist when he landed the lead role in the 1993 epic crime drama Blood in, Blood Out. At the age of 29, Chapa's portrayal of the bicultural young man desperate to belong who slowly transforms into the ruthless and hardened leader of a powerful prison gang became a monumental cultural touchstone. The film grew into a massive cult classic, and Miklo emerged as an unforgettable cinematic figure, offering a gritty, complex exploration of identity, brotherhood, and the Chicano experience that remains heavily celebrated today. Despite Miklo's evolution into a merciless, calculating gangster completely consumed by prison politics, Damian Chapa's real-life personality was far removed from the violent underworld his character ruled. While he deeply understood Miklo's bicultural struggle of being caught between two worlds as a man of Mexican and Caucasian descent, Chapa was primarily an eager and sensitive artist trying to make his mark. His career, however, was heavily hindered by the struggle of being typecast. The intense and enduring popularity of Miklo made it incredibly difficult for him to find mainstream work outside of Streetwise Criminals or Tough Guys. After securing the role of Ken in the 1994 adaptation of Street Fighter, consistent A-list Hollywood opportunities dried up. This professional hardship forced him to pivot toward directing, writing, and producing low-budget independent films just to keep working, all while navigating a tumultuous personal life that included several divorces and a highly publicized wrongful imprisonment in Germany, from which he was later completely exonerated. Damian Chapa has continued to carve out his own path in the entertainment industry, remaining fiercely dedicated to the fans who first supported him. He frequently tours the country for conventions and meet and greets to celebrate the enduring legacy of Blood in, Blood Out, keeping the spirit of Vatos Locos alive for entirely new generations. At 62, Chapa is still embracing his creative independence by developing indie film projects while residing in San Antonio, Texas. Despite the long shadow cast by his most famous role and the uphill battles of his professional past, he remains a deeply revered figure in Latino pop culture, living a much more private life as a dedicated father and working artist outside the traditional Hollywood machine. Enrique Castillo as Montana. Born on December 10, 1949, the Calexico, California native began his acting career with the acclaimed Teatro Campesino before making his mark in Hollywood. At the age of 43, Castillo's portrayal of the wise and influential prison gang leader Montana became a cultural touchstone in the 1993 epic Blood in, Blood Out. Offering a deeply humanized and dignified depiction of a Chicano inmate navigating the brutal politics of San Quentin, his performance was widely considered the heart and soul of the film. For generations of viewers, his commanding presence and profound delivery defined a character that remains one of Chicano cinema's most legendary figures. Despite playing a hardened and ruthless maximum security gang boss, Enrique Castillo is an eloquent, theatrically trained artist and writer whose real personality is a stark contrast to the violent world of his character. This contrast was a significant part of his personal journey. He meticulously drew from his own real-life background as a farm worker to give Montana authentic fire and vulnerability. His career was also marked by the struggle of being typecast in an industry that frequently sidelined Latino actors, offering them stereotypical one-dimensional criminal roles with bad accents. Dedicated to presenting his culture with dignity and respect, Castillo often turned down auditions for demeaning projects, a principled stance that created professional hardships and made finding consistent, meaningful work difficult in a restrictive Hollywood landscape. Enrique Castillo continued to work in television and film for decades, expanding his creative reach by founding the production company Four Brown Hats Entertainment and publishing the suspense novel The Dead of Summer. He took on notable television roles such as the lethal underboss Caesar in the hit series Weeds, and appeared in popular shows like NCIS and Major Crimes. Dedicated to his heritage, he also wrote and directed the award-winning theater production Veteranos: A Legacy of Valor, honoring Latino military contributions. At 76, he is an active and revered elder statesman of Latino arts, frequently participating in film retrospectives, fan conventions for Blood in, Blood Out, and cultural festivals where his iconic work continues to inspire new generations. Carlos Carrasco as Popeye. Born on April 5, 1948 in Panama City, Panama, the Afro-Panamanian actor secured an acting scholarship in the United States and built a solid theatrical foundation before hitting the big screen. At the age of 44, Carrasco's portrayal of the ruthless and manipulative prison inmate Popeye in the 1993 epic Blood in, Blood Out became a cultural phenomenon. His performance as the abrasive antagonist resonated deeply, cementing Popeye as an iconic figure within Chicano cinema and sparking a massive cult following that continues to celebrate the character through quoted dialogue and endless merchandise. Despite the character's violent, crude, and hardened nature, Carlos Carrasco is a highly educated, soft-spoken, and thoughtful individual with a deep passion for classical theater. This contrast was a significant part of his professional journey. He initially found it deeply ironic that a cultured Panamanian actor was immortalized as a vicious, original gangsta of the American prison system. His career was also marked by the struggle of being heavily typecast by Hollywood, which consistently relegated him to roles as thugs, cartel members, or criminals due to his appearance, and the massive shadow cast by Popeye. This narrow stereotyping made it difficult for him to find varied work, and forced him to navigate an industry that frequently overlooked his extensive theatrical background in favor of limiting street-level tropes. Carlos Carrasco continued to build a prolific career in film and television, taking on memorable supporting roles such as Ortiz in the blockbuster Speed and playing multiple characters across the Star Trek franchise. He eventually stepped behind the camera, finding success as an independent director and producer, and founded the Panamanian International Film Festival in Los Angeles, PIFFALA, to champion diverse Latino narratives. Over time, he fully embraced his most famous role, regularly attending fan conventions to interact with his dedicated supporters. As of 2026, at the age of 78, he remains an active and beloved figure in the entertainment community, continuing to engage with the enduring cult legacy of Popeye while advocating for greater Afro-Latino representation in Hollywood. Victor Rivers as Magic Mike. Born on October 1, 1955 in Sancti Spiritus, Cuba, the former college football player and Miami Dolphins draft pick brought immense physical presence to his acting career. At the age of 37, Rivers' portrayal of the formidable prison gang warlord Magic Mike in the 1993 epic Blood in, Blood Out became a massive cultural touchstone. The cult classic film profoundly resonated with audiences for its authentic dive into Chicano culture, family, and brotherhood, offering a cinematic experience that was both intense and incredibly significant. For over 3 decades, his commanding performance as the imposing shot caller has defined a character that remains iconic and deeply respected among multiple generations of devoted fans. Despite the character's hardened, violent, and intimidating nature, Victor Rivers is intensely compassionate and described by those who know him as the polar opposite of the ruthless warlords he often played. This contrast was a significant part of his personal journey. Having survived severe domestic abuse as a child, Rivers actively channeled his painful past into becoming a prominent activist and speaker against family violence. His career was also marked by the struggle of being heavily typecast, which initially made it difficult for him to find dynamic or leading work in Hollywood. He even changed his surname from Rivas to Rivers early on to avoid being stereotyped, yet still found himself repeatedly pigeonholed into playing menacing thugs and hitmen, a professional hardship that was challenging to reconcile with his peaceful, real-life advocacy. Victor Rivers continued to work in television and film for decades, ultimately finding profound stability both personally and professionally. He married his wife Mim Eichler Rivas, with whom he shares a son, and penned the powerful survivor memoir, A Private Family Matter. He secured memorable roles in major films like The Mask of Zorro, and booked recurring and guest spots on popular series such as Life, Modern Family, and Criminal Minds. Throughout the 2000s and beyond, he has served as a dedicated national spokesperson for the National Network to End Domestic Violence. At 70, he remains a respected actor and an inspiring advocate, continuing to use his platform to support vulnerable children and families. Teddy Wilson as Wallace. Born on December 10, 1943 in Harlem, New York City, the talented native initially built a career on the stage before becoming a familiar face in 1970s and 80s television and film. At the age of 47, Wilson took on the role of Wallace in the sprawling 1993 crime epic Blood in, Blood Out, also known as Bound by Honor. Wilson's portrayal of the hardened prison inmate added a gritty authenticity to the cult classic film, which vividly explored gang life, the harsh realities of the prison system, and brotherhood in East Los Angeles. His grounded performance contributed to a cinematic narrative that achieved immense cultural impact, remaining a definitive and highly respected touchstone in crime drama history. Despite frequently portraying hardened inmates, smooth-talking hustlers, and extroverted streetwise figures, Theodore "Teddy" Wilson was the polar opposite of the tough characters he played on screen. A deeply dedicated family man, classically trained stage actor and playwright, he studied at Florida A&M University and honed his craft with the prestigious Negro Ensemble Company. His career, however, was marked by the persistent struggle of being typecast into narrow comedic or tough guy roles, making it difficult for him to showcase his full dramatic range. He also endured the professional sting of constant show cancellations. Starring vehicles like Roll Out and the spin-off The Sanford Arms were abruptly pulled from the air after only a handful of episodes. Alongside the difficulty of continually hustling for guest spots to find work and maintain his livelihood, Wilson battled severe health problems, pushing through the physical hardship of a prior open-heart surgery to continue acting and supporting his family. Tragically, Wilson did not live to see the release of his final major film project. Teddy Wilson passed away on July 21, 1991, at the age of 47, due to complications from a stroke at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. Because Blood In, Blood Out did not hit theaters until 1993, his memorable appearance as Wallace served as a poignant posthumous farewell to the beloved character actor. Following his sudden death, his remains were cremated and his ashes were returned to his family's residence in Glendale, California. He was survived by his 3 children and his wife, fellow actress Joan Pringle, who was named the executrix of his estate, managing his affairs and preserving the legacy of an actor whose life and career were cut devastatingly short. Jeffrey Rivas as Carlos. Born on November 30th, 1963, the native Californian and UCLA graduate brought Carlos to life in the 1993 epic crime drama Blood In, Blood Out. At the age of 29, Rivas's portrayal of the hardened La Onda gang member added significant depth and tension to the film's gritty prison dynamics. The movie itself became a monumental cult classic, particularly within the Mexican-American community, offering an expansive look at Chicano culture loyalty and the fierce realities of street and prison gang life that continues to resonate decades later. Despite often portraying violent criminals or aggressive tough guys on screen, Jeffrey Rivas is deeply rooted in the fine arts and is described by peers as a refined theater veteran with a quiet passion in his work and his craft. Armed with a master of fine arts in acting, his real personality is far removed from the volatile, dangerous life of his Blood In, Blood Out character. Professionally, his career was marked by the distinct hardship of being heavily typecast in Hollywood. Thanks to his imposing physical presence and naturally gruff demeanor, he found himself consistently relegated to playing authoritative figures like police officers, detectives, or security guards. While this provided steady television work, being perpetually pigeonholed into law enforcement roles or gang affiliates often felt limiting for an actor capable of a much broader theatrical range. Jeffrey Rivas continued to balance his screen work with his enduring passion for the stage over the ensuing decades, racking up credits in popular shows such as CSI Crime Scene Investigation, Station 19, and The Rookie. He has kept his personal life relatively private, maintaining a quiet family life with his wife while dedicating his energy to his community. At 62, he is alive and remains highly active in the entertainment industry, particularly within the Los Angeles theater scene. He continues his decades-long commitment as a founding member of the Latino Theater Company, frequently producing and directing acclaimed stage productions, such as the recent play The Little King of Norwalk, and utilizing his platform to elevate Chicano representation and mentor new generations of Latino artists. Lanny Flaherty as Big Al. Born on July 27, 1942, the Pontotoc, Mississippi native had already established himself as a military police officer, stage actor, and playwright before landing his most memorable on-screen role. At the age of 50, Flaherty's portrayal of Big Al in the 1993 crime epic Blood In, Blood Out became a chilling cinematic touchstone, offering an unflinching and terrifying depiction of the brutal racial politics and power dynamics of prison life. As the ruthless, predatory Aryan vanguard leader who controlled the San Quentin kitchen, his intimidating presence and unforgettable line deliveries defined a character that remains one of the cult classic's most iconic and deeply feared figures. Despite the character's vile, bigoted, and predatory nature, Lanny Flaherty was a deeply cultured, peaceful man who was described by those who knew him as the polar opposite of Big Al. An intellectual who cherished literature, live theater, and ballet, Flaherty found playing the deliberately cruel and racist prison boss to be a stark departure from his real-life persona. His career was also marked by the struggle of being typecast, which for years made it difficult for him to find diverse acting work. Hollywood casting directors frequently struggled to see past his menacing on-screen aura, pigeonholing him into a narrow box of creepy, eccentric, or villainous supporting roles in projects like Natural-Born Killers and Waterworld. Lanny Flaherty continued to work steadily in television, film, and on Broadway for decades, alternating his time between his home state of Mississippi and New York City. He took on supporting roles in acclaimed films such as Signs and Men in Black 3, while continuing to write his own plays and remaining a devoted father and grandfather. Flaherty passed away in Manhattan on February 18, 2024, at the age of 81 from complications following an unexpected surgery. His death was followed by a heartfelt outpouring of love from the theatrical community and fans alike, many of whom flooded his online obituaries to affectionately quote his famous Big Al dialogue, a lasting aftermath that proved how deeply his iconic performance resonated with audiences. Blood in, Blood Out remains a visceral masterpiece that still echoes through the streets of East L.A. and beyond. Seeing the cast today serves as a powerful reminder that time moves fast, but legends never truly fade. They taught us the meaning of vatos locos forever, a sentiment that still resonates 30 years later. If this trip down memory lane touched your heart, please give this video a like and hit that notification bell to stay connected with us for more nostalgic content.